Tonight on 60 Minutes, the crippling reality for those who just can't sleep.
It's just my life had been sucked out of me. All the joy had gone from my life.
We look into the rise of insomnia. Is it killing our nation?
It has such an important impact on not only ourselves, but our businesses, our children. Any part of our lives is affected by poor sleep.
Kia ora, good evening. Sleep, it's one of the basic essentials of life, but many of us, around 1 in 4, are not getting enough of it. The US has declared insomnia an epidemic, and leading health experts here say we are on the same track. And not getting enough rest can have serious health consequences: obesity, depression, anxiety, diabetes and poor immunity, impacting on your body's ability to fight diseases like cancer. Tonight we meet 2 Kiwi women battling insomnia, sleeping for as little as 1 hour a night for weeks, even months on end. And we go in search of a cure for this crippling condition and find the answers may not always lie with modern medicine.
I was just very moody and I just didn't want to be with people or do anything.
Yeah, I've definitely had moments where I'm driving and tearing around and sort of think, you know, and I just know that, yeah, ideally I shouldn't be driving. Absolutely. Just in quite spacey, quite, you know, flashing lights type things and seeing stars.
It is huge, and it has such an important impact on not only ourselves, but our businesses, our children. Any part of our lives is affected by poor sleep.
People are on antipsychotics because they've got a broken heart, and they're on antihistamines and antidepressants and sedatives, and there's all sorts of drug cocktails going on, but they're just not working for people.
Tracy LaRue knows only too well the effect not having enough sleep can have on your life.
I actually had, at one stage, had suicidal thoughts. It just got to a point where I couldn't take it anymore. I remember one Saturday just lying on my bed crying and just saying to Gavin, I can't live anymore like this. It's just my life had been sucked out of me. All the joy had gone from my life. I wasn't laughing anymore.
Diagnosed with breast cancer at 48, the Auckland mother of 2 teenage girls was reeling.
I think the shock of having to undergo a second surgery sort of spiraled my mind and my sleep pattern and what have you. So I started to take sleeping tablets. And what should have just been a short phase of sleeping tablets ended up being 3 months of sleeping tablets, which then started the problems.
How bad did it get?
Can you imagine a week of maybe 3 hours a night? The whole week I've had 15 hours sleep. You're tired, you're absolutely shattered, yet you can't sleep.
Latest Ministry of Health figures show Tracy is not alone in her quest for a decent night's sleep. Insomnia is an increasing concern for doctors here. In 1 year alone, 700,000 scripts for sleeping pills were administered. And the US has declared insomnia an epidemic. Dr. Alex Bartle's nationwide Sleep Well clinics are booked for months in advance.
I think it's vastly underrated. I mean, underdiagnosed or underthought about. People rather reject sleep as being not that important. Partly it's generated by people in the past who have said, oh, I only need 2 or 3 hours sleep and I'm fine. The reality is it's incredibly active time. There are masses of things going on in our sleep. Hormonal things, brain function things, physical things that you need to have sleep in order to repair and restore and function properly during the day.
Why aren't we sleeping?
Well, I guess the most common causes are not allowing yourself enough sleep. That's almost the trick question, is actually just ignoring it, watching television too much, playing with your laptops, just ignoring sleep. It's probably the number one, but very close behind it is the stress and the anxieties, which of course is huge in society today.
From the looks of things, 38-year-old Fleur Francis has, by all accounts, a perfect life.
This insomnia just doesn't seem to discriminate between, you know, all walks of life. I mean, here I am, happily married, got 3 healthy children. I'm not battling cancer or no one, everything's,
Good.
great.
But there's one thing that is out of her reach: sleep.
I coast along with, 1 or 2 hours a night, maybe 3, 4 if I'm absolutely lucky, but that would be broken. That wouldn't be 4 straight. And then I tank. So I go, fine, I guess it's an adrenaline thing, and then I just absolutely bottom out.
Hi, honey.
Hi. Good. All right. We're off. Jump in.
Fleur has battled with insomnia for 10 years and she's tried everything: melatonin, intravenous vitamins, a hormone expert, sleep tonics and sleeping pills.
I even got them hypnotised, which worked for 2 weeks. I thought, woohoo, this is working, but no, then it doesn't work anymore. She introduced sort of circus animals into my thoughts and stuff like that. It was very amusing, actually. But no, it didn't really.
Didn't stick?
No, nothing seems to stick.
It's a nightmare. I mean, how do you manage that with all these things going on around you, and you trying to multitask, as they say, and that we know is a difficult thing to do anyway and doesn't really exist. We just have to swap from one thing to other. Well, if you're swapping from one thing to other and you're not slept, it's going to be very difficult, and you're going to miss things. You're going to miss that accident.
Has there been any close calls where you've thought, goodness, I really should try and sleep?
I've had a particularly bad bout once where I literally started hallucinating. I was completely doolally, and that was, I had 4 months of 1 hour a night. And that's when I went completely, I did go a bit crazy then. But then when I'm awake during the night, I go through all the stuff that I've got to do the next day and the coming weeks and what have you, and I go through scenarios, and then I've done it all in my head, and I believe that I've actually, my memory's terrible because I then think that I've actually had the conversations with people or said this to my husband, said this to the kids, and they don't know what I'm talking about, but I've done it all while I'm awake.
Memory is hugely affected by lack of sleep, and we need probably 5 or 6 hours at least to consolidate memory. So people often come in with poor sleep and they think they're getting Alzheimer's, for example, because they're not remembering anything. But in fact, it's their sleep. They're just not getting enough sleep.
In January this year, the University of Chicago Medical Center found that poor quality sleep with frequent awakenings can speed cancer growth, increase tumour aggressiveness and reduce the immune system's ability to control cancer. The study used mice and compared tumour growth in those mice allowed to sleep normally to those whose sleep was interrupted. In mice that had interrupted sleep, the tumours were larger and more invasive. The study shows a link between sleep and the way the immune system responds to cancer.
Do you think that harmed your recuperation?
Definitely. It harmed everything. Just my living, my day-to-day living, the interaction with my family, interaction with my friends, just getting up and doing things. I had no motivation to do anything. I mean, Gavin just really had to take over, cook, look after kids. I would just sit on my bed day after day.
Up next on 60 Minutes, the warnings about sleeping pills and how one woman finally cured her insomnia.
If I can't get off the dose I'm on now, how am I going to get off double the dose?
Insomniac Tracy LaRue was desperate for answers and desperate for sleep. Existing on a couple of hours a night, losing around half a kilo of weight a week, she had the shakes, anxiety, couldn't eat, and was battling breast cancer. She was prescribed a sleeping pill, which initially worked.
I started having less and less sleep, and Eventually got what they call rebound insomnia, where I was surviving on about between 2 and 4 hours of sleep a night.
Surviving?
Well, yeah.
Existing?
Existing is a better word, yeah. That is the only non-natural medication that I take, and that is a hormone blocker to stop the estrogen from attacking the breast tissue.
When doctors told Tracy to double her sleeping pill dose, the very medication she believed had caused her insomnia, she snapped.
To me, it made no sense whatsoever to double up on something that wasn't working. And then my thought process was, well, if I can't get off the dose I'm on now, how am I going to get off double the dose? I was addicted, and I had already tried on various occasions to actually just stop and not take the tablet at all.
This is Zopiclone?
Yes, and was awake for 24 hours.
The Sleep Well Clinic's Dr Alex Bartle says Tracy's diagnosis from doctors and her reaction are common.
The reaction so often is when you go to a doctor, they want to do something for you, so they're going to keep on giving you medication until it finally puts you to sleep. The reason she's not sleeping still is because the brain is so powerful. If, for example, you took a couple of Zopiclone and your baby wakes you in the middle of the night and is having a problem, you're going to be right on deck straight away. So your brain takes over, your adrenaline kicks in. She's probably shaking, she's pale, heart's racing all the time, a lot of palpitations. So all this hyperarousal is going on, and that's totally taking over any sleeping tablet that she might have. Until you almost get to an anaesthetic stage, as with Michael Jackson, of course.
The late King of Pop himself an unwitting poster boy for the dangers of over-sedation. The official autopsy concluded he died from an overdose, a concoction of sedatives and anti-anxiety medication designed to get him to sleep, not meant to be permanent.
They become less effective because the body starts to become used to that medication, so it no longer responds like it used to.
Naturopath Kirsten Taylor has also seen the downside of sleeping pills.
They're definitely a quick fix and a short-term fix and a dangerous fix. I understand why the doctor wants to give them that, but you know there are alternatives. There are natural solutions to help people sleep better.
With 1 in 4 of us tossing and turning all night, our sleeplessness has spawned an industry that's big business. Kiwi company SleepDrops is about to be launched into the United States, Hong Kong and Singapore, offered as an alternative remedy.
When it was bedtime at the zoo, every animal knew what to do.
So determined is founder Kirsten Taylor about getting the world to sleep naturally, she's written a children's bedtime story to instill good habits from a young age, with practical advice for parents included.
If one person in the house isn't sleeping, then no one in the house is happy.
So when Tracy LaRue knocked on your door, what did you think?
One of the first things I said to her was like, well, what have you been taking? And when she explained to me that she was on 3 different seriously sedating medications, I was astounded. I was just like, oh my gosh, if these aren't working, then what the heck is going on for people out there? And her case is not unusual.
How do the sleep drops work where other things don't?
Well, sleep drops are not habit forming. We're not trying to get the body to be dependent on the medication. We're literally trying to restore natural balance in the person's nervous system to get them to sleep.
Tracy LaRue had finally found her cure, sleeping normally again and off her medication after 6 weeks on the drops.
I couldn't believe it was light. It was 5 o'clock in the morning, where before it would be 2, 3, 4, and I'd watch the sun come up. Where I actually opened my eyes, and I expected to see dark like I usually did, and to have a look at my phone next to my bed to see what the time was, but it was actually light. It was 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, and I couldn't believe it.
Okay, so we've got to set the timer. You only have 30 minutes every night.
But Fleur Francis is still looking for her sleep solution.
It shouldn't be that hard. And someone must know. Someone must have the answer.
Dr Alex Bartle believes changing behaviour is key. Get up, don't lie in bed if you're awake, keep the bright lights off and stay away from technology.
Journaling is fantastically useful. That's writing stuff that's going on for you emotionally, maybe, that you can then throw away. So pen and paper is good. I can't sleep and this is hopeless, I've got a busy day tomorrow, whatever. Some light reading, like a magazine or newspaper or something like that, but not computer, not checking your emails, not TV. Not your latest novel that you're going to get stuck into for the next couple of hours. Not talkback radio, preferably, whether you get all wound up about. But just some light reading, like a magazine or newspaper article that is just brief, because you only need to be up for 15 minutes.
For the LaRue family, life is just as it should be. Tracy is sleeping and in remission.
Never, ever, ever lose hope. If that's one big message I can give anybody out there that's suffering with sleep. I know what it feels like, and I've been down that path where you just feel there is no hope and you feel like you can't live anymore, but there definitely is hope.
Since that story was filmed, Fleur has started using SleepDrops, and so far they appear to be helping. However, insomnia is a complicated issue, and if you are having trouble sleeping, contact a healthcare professional. Still